What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast, episode number 251. I have to apologize for our absence last week, but I was actually on a family vacation, so we couldn't make it. I tried to, but we couldn't make it. But Steve Santos is here. What's going on,
Everybody.
Steve?
You know, up in Toronto, you guys are down in Jersey. How's the weather there? Here it's kind of windy and humid, which is kind
Hot,
of weird.
hot and muggy.
Hot and muggy.
and windy.
And
Yeah.
Cristiano's here, and as you can see, the summer hasn't done anything to his skin.
Nah, that's the light.
Casper, that's not very
the-
nice.
It's the lighting, bro.
Anyway, we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to recap the Braga game. We're going to recap the Chaves game. We're going to recap the Belenenses game. And we're going to look ahead to Rio Ave. Well, not really recap because it's been forever since those games have been played. So I don't think a lot of people remember what happened in those games, with the exception that Benfica won in the score. But I think in general, I think we're just going to talk in general what went on in these first three games. So Benfica played Braga in the first game. And Steve, it's funny. We talked about the schedule for Benfica in the start of the season, but quite a hard schedule for Benfica as far as on paper, a difficult schedule. We opened up against Guimarães in the Super Cup, then at home to open up the league against Braga. Then we traveled up north to Chaves, which is usually a very tough pitch to play in. As a matter of fact, I think that both Sporting and Porto lost points there last season. And then we hold Belenenses at home, which was this past weekend. So, and now we go up north to Rio Ave. So, quite a difficult start of the season for Benfica.
For sure. That's two of the more difficult away trips outside of the big three, I'd say. We always seem to struggle at Wildkund. Chaves, with this newfound wealth or whatever it is that they have, and they're good players, and the smaller pitch, and it's a difficult trip as well. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely been it's not a super easy start to the season, but we've done well so far. I mean,
Yeah.
the one game that the more difficult one for me was the away one, and we snuck out of there in the 92nd minute with a win. So that's a good sign, a good omen.
Yeah, so let's look at Benfica's first game of the season against Braga. Julio Cesar was hurt, as we all know. So Varela started in goal. Everything else, really, just what we expected. Almeida, Luizão, Jardel, and Eliseu across the back, facing Pizzi in the middle, Salvio and Servi on the wings, and Jonas and Seferovic up front. Grimaldo, from what I understand, is hurt again. And Cristiano, I'm starting to begin to doubt on how this kid could stay healthy.
I've been telling you guys that for months now. If you guys recall, towards the end of last season, when with all the speculation about who's going to leave Benfica and his name kept being brought up and possible transfers out of Stadio da Luz, and I kept saying the guy is not healthy. He's not going to be healthy. I seriously doubt, out of all, in particular the four guys we were talking about, which was himself, Semedo, Ederson, and Lindelof. And I kept telling you, I think he's going to stay because of his injury concern. And he's been back, gets hurt right away after getting sent home from the Spanish national U21, getting sent home for them because he was injured, comes back to Portugal, recovers, plays a game, gets hurt again. So, I mean, this is it's a concern. A kid that it's unfortunate because he's a good young player. He's a good player and he's very young, and you hope that this kid could stay healthy. But, it's not a path that we'd like to see right now. Hopefully it's a little hiccup. It's something that he could get over, but, it could get ugly. I mean, this is how Fábio Coentrão started.
Yeah.
Little injury there, and then before you know, it's been 4 years since the guy's been healthy.
Yeah, and Steve, I know that you follow Barcelona, albeit not as close in these past couple of years. But any from the guys that you read in regards to Barcelona, any indication that Grimaldo is a guy that's susceptible to injuries?
Well, it's difficult to say because he's quite young. He hasn't had a big career. He hasn't had a career in the big leagues where a lot of people are watching him. So he didn't have a label attached to him, but he did have, I believe, ligament surgery a year and a half before he came to Benfica as well. I know he had a big injury when he was like 18 or 19.
Knee, right? Something like that.
I believe it was knee ligaments. And ever since then, since he's been with us, it's been he'd play good 4 or 5 games, and then he'd be down for 3, 4 at the very minimum. So it's definitely worrisome, especially for a kid who's that young, still playing on the under 21s, to have the beginning of his career being, I don't want to say shunted or stunted by that, but it's sad. I mean, you have a guy with that much ability. You want to see him play week in, week out, and then whether it's genetics or bad luck or whatever it is, the guy can't get off the massage table. He's always hurt. So we'll have to keep an eye on how much he ends up actually playing. But last year, that's something I meant to check out. I bet that guy probably missed a good 60% of the games that we played in, if not more.
Yeah,
he missed a good 5 months, I believe, with that
Yeah.
injury towards the end, because he showed up in January, then March he got hurt. Not even 5 months, like 4 months probably. A good 4 months I would say he missed last season.
yeah. He played a little bit towards the end of the season when he first arrived.
Yeah, and then he played a little bit at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, he went on a tear. Then he had that abdominal injury where he had to have surgery on his abdominal wall, and then he was out for a very long time. And I think that towards the end of the season, I think he played maybe 2-3 games without looking. So not what Benfica would expect, especially with losing a guy as vertical as Smith was, and hoping that Grimaldo would be our Smith this year, being that Almeida is not that vertical.
Which brings us back to the transfer season, which is still not close, but still makes the transfer of Marçal a head scratcher, because we have a guy, yes, a very good young player, but injury prone. Then we have a dude who's in his mid-30s, who's slow, a little heavy, and is not the same player he was when he arrived at Benfica.
And we had Adams.
Everybody could tell you that. I mean, we watched him play against Boavista last year. We could tell the guy was not going to make it on this team. So obviously, that it makes that move even more of a head scratcher.
You know what the head scratcher is that you don't loan on Adams and you don't keep Yuri Medeiros.
Yeah, it was weird.
We sent Yuri Medeiros to Rio Ave, and he plays.
No, but Benfica wants to send him out, but he doesn't want to leave Portugal.
No, I mean send Adams to Rio Ave.
Benfica has told him that they plan on loaning him out, but he wants to stay in Portugal, according to what I've read.
Yeah. Anyway, so just real quick on the game, Benfica was up and started really good against Braga. Two goals in the first 30 minutes. Then we let our goal in before the half. Braga comes out strong. Then we put another one away in the 56th minute, and that was all she wrote. Couple mistakes by Braga that led to our goals, but nonetheless, the team needs to be praised of how well they have played and how strong they've come into these games. So a good win for Benfica, especially with the high degree of difficulty of the game that it was against Braga, regardless of whether we were playing at home. And we've had success against Braga at home, but nonetheless, it's always a difficult game because the start of the season, the team isn't yet firing on all cylinders. So it was going to be a difficult game. Next up, the trip up to Trás-os-Montes to play Chaves in a smaller pitch, and a team that did very, very well last season. If I recall, they were on the top half of the table, if I recall correctly. A team that has some money behind it, as Steve mentioned. And look, I get it, man. I get it that their style is to keep 10 guys or 11 guys behind the ball and use the wingers and use the quick guys up front to go on a counter. But to me, it was a total massacre by Benfica, especially in the second half. I don't recall Chaves getting out of their half in the second half. And I think that the result and the goal, albeit a very late goal and an opportunistic goal by Seferovic, gave Benfica the deserved result. Now, here's something that I wanted to run by you, Steve. And the thing that we talked about Seferovic here is the fact that he's a guy that discovers lanes, that he runs into lanes and he takes advantage of spaces ahead of him. But being that when teams close up and they back up and they really lower their lines, do you see Seferovic finding difficulty, finding those pockets of space once teams are way back into their defensive third?
See, we've only had that one game to gauge by.
It wasn't his best game aside from the goal.
It wasn't his best game. It's like you say, it's a tight pitch. It's exactly the situation that I want to see more of him in and see how he reacts and what he's able to do. But I think he's going to make it work. I see a very intelligent football player in Seferovic, a guy who is very quickly learning the way Jonas thinks and learning the way the team plays. You have a guy who has a lot of variability in his game, which makes us a lot less predictable than we were with Mitroglou. Mitroglou, if he's not winning a 50-50 ball in the air, he's not really doing much until the ball gets into the box. With Seferovic, he'll drop off and play in an almost Jonas area just to make sure he gets the ball and keeps the play moving. He'll drag the defenders deep when he tries to attack the space behind the defenders. He's got a lot of variety to his game that I think, even if so far his best performance hasn't been, well, his worst performance was in exactly the situation that I was kind of worried about, I still have confidence that I think he's going to make good in those small pitches. One thing to keep an eye on, whenever we win the ball early and the ball falls to Jonas or Pizzi, he's instantly attacking the back line, stretching him. Whether he gets the ball or not, a lot of times he is, and I believe that's how we scored the goal versus Belenenses just this weekend. The little left foot side outside foot finish, I think, was it? Or no, inside foot, was exactly that play. We win the ball early, and it falls to Jonas's feet, and it's instant that he takes off behind.
The header.
He's the header.
Jonas's header. He skips it off his head.
Yeah, Jonas.
Which is the one that? Oh no, he doesn't end up scoring.
No, he misses wide. That was for Felipe Augusto.
That's the one that Felipe Augusto passed.
Yeah, and he touches it out with the outside of the foot, puts it around the keeper, but just wide. The one that he scored was a phenomenal. I mean, I want to call it a through ball. I want to call it a through ball, whatever. He put him. I mean, that was a phenomenal pass.
He's always very willing to attack that space behind the defense, and I think that's going to be a big key for us this year.
You know what Seferovic is? Seferovic is a combination of Jimenez and Mitroglou in one.
Yeah.
And
I think he gives you a little bit of both. He gives you the hustle of Jimenez. You know what I mean? Jimenez doesn't stand still. Whether you agree with his movement or not, whether his movement half the time is positive or not, the guy doesn't stand still. And in Mitroglou, you get the sweet left foot in the box, the powerful shot, which he has. He could obviously finish. It just boggles my mind. Again, it's another head scratcher. This is a guy who struggled to score goals over the last couple of years in Germany. That comes to Porto. Looks like a world beater.
3 goals he scored last season.
I know, and he scored 3 goals in the first 3 games now so far.
Well, 4 if you count the Super Cup.
4 if you count the Super Cup exam. So yeah, absolutely. 4 straight games. I mean, but I think it's a combination of both guys, Steve.
But here's the thing, Cristiano. That skip pass, we call it Nigeria's skip pass by Jonas, which it's the header.
All you had to do was nudge it.
Yeah, but
nudge it, keep it going in the same direction. And look, that's got to be something that, if it's not practiced at practice, it's something that these guys, like Steve mentioned before, it shows their soccer smarts. But because we all knew Jonas is smart. The guy sees the opportunity. He creates the run. He starts to run. Jonas comes in. Jonas doesn't even have to trap the ball, bring it down. He knows that he has to one time it, whichever way, could get his whatever part of the body on the ball, and he did just that. And I think that goes to show you how brilliant and how smart these guys are.
But here's the thing: do you feel that a type of play like that, where Jonas got his back turned to the goal, and he heads the ball, and Seferovic happens to make the perfect run? Do you feel that this early in the season, it's already showing a chemistry between the two?
That's what I just said. If it's not practiced, which I do think that some of this because of it due to his speed. I think Rui Vitória's probably worked on this where he's just get the guy down the wing, whichever way, and get him the ball at all costs possible. And I think this is exactly what happened. I mean, it shows just how smart Jonas is. Jonas could play with his back to the goal. He could play forward, facing the goal. It doesn't matter which way the guy's facing. He knows where he's at on the field at all times. And that was a beautiful vision by him to see him making that run
Yeah.
and getting them through. I mean, this is phenomenal football by Benfica. I don't care if you're a fan of Benfica or not. That was phenomenal football.
Yeah. Just wrapping up the Chaves game real quick.
I got something to say on the Chaves game, so don't wrap it up before I comment.
That goal at the end of the game, 92nd minute, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. 91 something.
Those are the type of goals that you're grabbing in the middle of the winter and a heavy pitch and a game where you suffered most of the game to find the spaces and to find the opportunities. And Benfica sees themselves being persistent and persevering and grabbing that goal they fought to the end. If that's not an indication of team unity and the desire of that team has to repeat and to get the Penta, I don't know what is.
Well, but that shows you what's happened with Benfica over the last couple of years. If you recall, 2 seasons ago in the Rio Ave's first year, they finished 25-1-1 in the last 27. You know, a lot of those games, if you guys recall, we're sitting here like, how the hell did this team even make it through? On that Arrasca. You know what I mean? The guys couldn't even move the ball, but they had the heart, they had the desire to come away with the 3 points and defend and, you know, come up with crucial goals that year. And then last season, you could say the same thing. This team never gives up. And that same mentality is shown here, you know, so far early on in this season. It was a very important 3 points to go out there because, like you mentioned before, both teams, both of our main rivals last year dropped points at Chaves, and now they knew that these 3 points were crucial. You know, Porto and Benfica have started the season well. You didn't want to fall behind these guys, and you know, so this team has that never die mentality. They had the tremendous attitude, and I think it shows because, and again, it goes back to the Mitroglou knowing where to be. You know, the Mitroglou always reads the play. He's not the fastest guy, but he knows where to be in the box. And then the Jimenez, the hustle, and I think that again, it combines both. Seferovic gave you the hustle and he knew where to be. Again, combining both guys. Now, going back to that game, and I want to come up with a couple of negatives here. And I think you go back to that Chaves game, and for those of you that are so in love with, you know, with Andre Almeida, who I love having him on the team as a polyvalent. The guy could play, you know, on the back line, he could play in the midfield. I love having a guy and understand that he's a squad player. But go back to that game, and you see when the teams park the bus, and Benfica's very limited at moving the ball around and creating opportunities, you'll see his limitations. It was at least 3 plays, 2 simple crosses that he didn't even get over. I mean, over the goal. Another one that I forget who, it might have been Pizzi, puts him through in the box. He doesn't even control it, goes out of bounds. It shows you his limitations. This is the question. This is the reason, I should say, why a lot of people are calling for Benfica to go out and get themselves a right back, even though he's suitable for what we're doing, you know, for what we, you know, the type of football we're playing, which is not the big, you know, we haven't played our main rivals, but when you want to go ahead and progress and you want to be right, you need other options. And Benfica right now has no options coming out of the back line.
Well, a lot of the modern world-class fullbacks started as wingers. And that's the reason why, because the game for a fullback these days has so much more, is so much more involved than just defending. You need to become the extra man doing the overlap. And I think that Almeida lacks that. He just doesn't have that natural instinct.
And in that game in particular, more so than any other game that I could recall in recent time, that game in particular, he showed his limitations over and over and over. Go watch the second half and you see what I'm talking about. And I thought it was just, I'm not trying to knock the guy because he does his job. And look, as long as Benfica's winning, we'll all be happy. But it shows you why we need something else out the back. And then, you know, you already have a Grimaldo. Eliseo's not the same player going up and down. You have nothing. And when a guy, which he is getting up, he's going up and he's getting, you know, into the attacking third. And when he's, you know, blowing the opportunities, the few opportunities that Benfica does create, it's just not a good sign.
Yeah, I can't get down on him like you do.
Nah, me neither. I thought it was pretty good versus Belenenses, to be honest.
Yeah, but I do agree. I do agree with you, Cristiano, that his crossing could use a lot of work.
Again, look, man, and I don't want to come here and start shitting on all our players, right? But this is one thing you guys need to understand, Steve, you, and everybody else listening. And I don't know more than anybody else. I'm not trying to act like I know more than anybody else, but just keep this in mind, guys. It's easy to play football when you have no one around you. I don't care who you are. When teams park the bus and just sit back and let you have the ball, it's real easy to play football. All you got to do, all you need to know how to do is kick the ball and pass it. It's easy. It's times when you need to be on your own and create on your own and improvise. That's where you show your worth, not when you're with 20 yards of space and no one else around you. And in particular, I'll play at Benfica. We're not talking about the Juvenils, a kid. Oh, he's got great movement. No. We're talking about at the professional level. A Benfica player needs to give me more than just, he gets into open spaces, but then every chance he gets, he blunders. Again, it's easy to play football when there's no one around. Belenenses, Benfica not trying to get into this game, but Benfica won that game 15-0. 15-0. Maybe 11, but okay, but I'll exaggerate a little. Maybe 11-0, but I'll say, 15. It's easy to play football when no one's around.
Steve.
No, Belenenses were super naive. I'm not going to try to say that they weren't. They left a lot of space. Even Braga, to an extent, I was expecting better from. We had easy ways with them, but we have to take some credit for how well we moved the ball, especially against Belenenses. I thought we were quite good. Best I've seen in a while. We saw a performance from Filipe Augusto, which is expected. I mean, this is what, when you see the guy touch the ball and you see the type of ability he has on the ball and the pace he has, the strength he has, you expect a performance like that. But he's not been able to produce one until the Belenenses game, which he was really good. I mean, I do not want to take anything from him, because in the Belenenses game, yes, the opposition's the opposition that's in front of you, but the kid played well. You can't find faults in him just because Belenenses played bad. I was happily impressed with Filipe Augusto. I also have to say something about Salvio, especially now that he's hurt. It sucks, but I'll say it anyway. He may have lost a lot of that explosiveness, a lot of that 1v1 stuff. What made him probably the player that gave him all this playing time and all this clout or credit with Rui Vitória that he gets to play so much. But the guy still has goals in him. I mean, he has a knack for being on the end of crosses. He has a knack for scoring, like the goal that he did against Belenenses. He scores. That's another. I meant to get numbers on this, but he scores a fair amount of goals for a winger, and we have to. As much as I like to diss him, I have to give him credit for that.
Wasn't Benfica's game last year started losing against Belenenses 6-0 victory? Also, probably the best.
It was 5 or
6-0. 6-0.
And I think
every time they play those, Benfica in the last 4 or 5 games against 28-0.
Yeah,
in the last 4 or 5 games against. I mean, look, Steve, you're not discrediting what you're saying. I'm just pointing out that Benfica play this, they just demolished Belenenses.
Yeah,
they came out to try to play football, but against a team like Benfica, you can't only just try to play your football, because you're not as good as them. So you have to try to find ways to stop Benfica playing their football too. And they were poor. I mean, I can't remember a game where we looked so good coming out of the back as we did against Belenenses, and that's part of the reason. This Domingos is not a coach that I've ever really appreciated much, so I might go up there.
Yeah. So on that Belenenses game, only one change really. Feza, who we found out picked up a traumatismo, and what that is a bruise, not necessarily a muscle injury or like some kind of a tendon or a ligament injury. So that's something that he can recover from. So Feza did get not Feza, at least Augusto did get the start ahead of Feza, and look, there was some hesitation. And to me, Augusto is not a number 6. He's not a natural number 6. He's more of an 8, and it's up to Vitória to really coach the guy. I think that if he there's some decisions that he needs to make, and he needs to kind of put himself in that role, in that mental role as a 6. You get the ball, distribute the ball quick. You got to time your tackles correctly, which is something that he has right now.
He struggles with that.
He rushes into tackles, and then he gets beat.
Or he fouls.
Right. So he's a guy that's still learning that position, and I think that it's within his best interest. And I think this game goes a long way to give him some confidence. But I think that Rui Vitória really has to coach this guy in being a 6 and being not only a destroyer, but an extra guy in the midfield to chase people around. As far as the playmaker, I don't think he's going to be that playmaker that we need, that we have in Pizzi. that we have in a Croatian that's still hurt. I don't know for how long now. They said
Kravinovic.
it's going to be 5 weeks, but it's now we're going
He
on
had an
8
appendix,
weeks.
right? Something like that.
No, it
Hernia.
was hernia.
Oh, appendix hernia. Quase a mesma
And a barriga.
coisa. São vizinhos.
But I think that if he really takes good coaching and he really changes his mentality, he could be a very important player for us, especially with Face. And look, nobody likes to hear that Face is going to be out and he's going to miss a bunch of games. But the thing is that in reality, we all know that Face is going to miss games from time to time. I thought last year was perhaps the most games he's ever played at Benfica. But then every year there's fear and that the guy's going to get hurt and he's going to be out.
Well, the one thing with Face is, as good as he is, and he's as important as any player on this team, he's only really needed for a handful of games throughout the campeonato, which is against the opposition that poses a threat. Because you play games like Benfica play this week, and there's no reason why Felipe Augusto could play. You give Feja a day off because they're really not going to, they're not much of a threat.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's just like get into a couple, recover a couple balls. But most of the time, we're gonna have the ball anyway. Just got to touch. It's real easy to play.
Yeah. So Benfica got on a scoreboard really early, and I think that kind of put a wrench on Domingos' plans. 2 minutes in, and Jonas 1-0. Then Salvi in the 28th minute, and Seferovic 4 minutes later in the 32nd minute, making 3-0 for Benfica, who was completely demolishing Belenenses at the half. Fortunately, we did not give up a goal before the half, so there was a little bit more mental focus by the team. But I don't think that Belenenses presented much of a challenge, to be honest with you. And look, I don't want to take anything away. I think that they have good players in that team. But I just think that Benfica was just too strong, and Belenenses didn't really have the weapons to bother Benfica in the first half or the second half. And I think that Benfica comes out for the second half trying to control the game. And I mean, we did get 2 goals late, but that was already when Belenenses had ran out of gas, because chasing the ball in the first half, it does take a toll.
You're right, it was late, but I'll tell you right now, bro, that was a world-class finish by Jonas on that 4th goal, though, Alfredo.
Yeah.
That's textbook stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention the one from midfield that he almost got.
Yeah, the dude, Jonas is showing his class. I mean, the dude's a tremendous player. As long as he stays healthy, he's the best player in Portugal. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about guys that you've seen on your lifetime at playing for Benfica, and this is arguably one of the top 3 best players we've seen at Benfica in our generation.
For sure.
I mean, you talk about Aimar, you talk about Rui Costa. Who else can you throw into that?
I can't even say Rui Costa had one tremendous year and he left right at the beginning, and then he comes back and he wasn't the same player.
But even after he came back,
not at this level.
I mean, the class.
Oh, the class, yeah. Oh, class. Not okay.
In terms of class, it's those guys plus João Vieira Pinto.
Yeah,
João Vieira Pinto.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about
not productive.
Even
in terms of class,
even Aimar had one good season, and aside from that, it was not his usual self.
No, I misunderstood. I thought he was talking about in terms of production.
No, yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, talking about classy players, definitely João Vieira Pinto, Aimar, Rui Costa.
Different kind of class, but that guy was
insane. Back in the days, you want to? you want to go real back? I mean, how far back you want to go?
João Vieira Pinto and Gamara played on the same team.
Yeah.
Fair. Not going that
far.
Gamara
was the center back, correct?
Yeah, from Paraguay.
Center back who went the whole season without a yellow.
He would never foul anybody. He would just win the ball clean, man. Amazing.
I mean, I would say, look, we're sticking with the last 15 years. Yeah, I mean, the guys you mentioned, Tarapt has to be.
Sadly, if he actually played a couple of games, we would have to say that. But
yeah. So 3 games, 9 points, all wins.
First time in 13 years, Benfica led off the season winning their 3 games. First 3 games of the season.
That's why I have Cristiano. He's got the stats for you.
I heard that somewhere. I don't know. Can't credit you. Trust me,
you're
I was
right.
not doing the homework on my own, but I
So
heard it somewhere.
It's very good start of the season for Benfica. We now have Rio Ave Saturday 8:30 at Stadio. What's it called? Stadio do Mar. Is it called? I think it's Stadio do Mar. I think 8:30 local. Rio Ave is one of the four teams that's also undefeated, 3 games, 3 wins.
Good point.
Albeit they played Belenenses, Boa Vista, and Portimonense. Boa Vista has yet to win a game. Last 5 at the Rio Ave, 4 wins for Benfica, 1 loss. Last 10 head-to-head, 8 wins, 1 tie, 1 loss. Benfica has already sold out of the tickets that the club was allotted by Rio Ave that were being sold at Stade de Luz, and I anticipate another sellout. Steve.
Yeah, I would assume that it would be. The estádio is called Estádio do Rio Ave FC,
Eu acho que é Estádio do Mar.
otherwise known as Arcos.
Oh, Estádio dos Arcos, yeah. Estádio do Mar is Leixões. I don't fucking know.
Whoa. F-bomb, F-bomb.
Is it past 10? Is it past? No, it's not 10 o'clock.
It's 9:45.
It's 9:45.
I don't know. I thought it was something to do with the sea or something.
Arcos,
Estádio
Mar. There's an A in there. No,
But you're like,
R-A.
aren't you from that area, dude?
No, I'm not from
No.
that area. That's Minho, bro. What the hell?
Minho?
Aren't you from Algarve?
Rio Ave is
Aren't you from Algarve? No, but it's Arcos. I'm thinking Arcos Valdez.
Yeah, which is way north.
No,
Well,
Rio Ave is by Porto.
It's
No?
in between Porto and Minho. It's north.
Yeah.
It's between
And-
Porto and Minho.
Chris
There
is
you
more. Chris is more central.
Yes.
There's your
Chris and you too.
there's
Yeah.
your crappy geography lesson for the night.
Well,
Steve,
what can you do?
especially with the immigrants being in Portugal, that's
Immigrants, tourists.
always... No,
Both.
it's imigrantes, pá.
Pá,
Não está
imigrantes.
lá a Mariana.
Imigrantes é os que vêm de fora, mas agora os portugueses que voltam para trás são turistas. Olha.
Anyway,
Tá bem.
decent side, Rio Ave. A lot of the same players that have been around for a while, the Tarantinis, the Marcelos. They picked up Yuri Ribeiro from us.
Which won't play.
That's right, because it's a loan. I
Yeah,
would
he
say
can't play.
But they have Nuno.
But then they lost the kids.
Costa,
They lost
right?
the 2 kids from Sporting. The 2 kids that were very key for them last season, correct? And they
No,
lost
they-
Kravinovic.
well, they lost Krovinovic, but they
and they
picked up.
lost.
And Nuno
The-
Santos.
And
They signed on a permanent.
and
from
they lost the
Benfica.
center mid that went back to Sporting.
No,
I
they
forget his name.
Francisco Geraldo, I think, is there again.
Oh, then he got
Yeah.
loaned back.
Geraldo
Oh.
was at Moreirense, and then
Oh.
went
And Yuri
back to
Medeiros
Sporting.
too.
Yes, and now you're confusing green teams from the north.
É tudo verde lá em cima, pá.
Sim. But Geraldo's just a good player, man. I expect him to give us some headaches. Nuno Santos is now there as a permanent deal. May have something to prove.
Oh yeah, they got a bunch of guys
Yeah.
from Ederson. Yeah.
Cassio is their goalie.
Casio's always
And you
giving us a
know
hard
that
time.
guys always could tell you what time it is.
Yeah, so I can tell you what time it is. It's going to be a typical difficult match, I think, in Villarreal. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, like I always like to say. But it's a very winnable game, and that's the way we got to approach it. So
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, because I think Porto also plays Braga. If I'm not
Porto plays
mistaken.
Braga and Sporting plays
Who cares?
Famalicão. I don't know, one of them teams.
Famalicão. No. Famalicão just plays Benfica B.
No, not Moreira. I don't know
No.
who they play, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. Anyway, turning our attention, Carrillo looks to be on the verge of going on loan with an option to buy to Watford. Apparently only waiting on the work visa. As you know, people need work visas to work in England or to play in England. It shouldn't be a problem because he's one of the clauses that
Sporting joga ao Estoril, pá.
I heard that. One of the clauses that they have in order for you to play in England is the fact that you need to have international appearances. He's had plenty of international appearances for the Peruvian national team, so it shouldn't be a problem. Cristiano brought Estoril up, our boy, not our boy, but the one guy that we had been talking up, Pepe, has just gone on loan, was announced today, will go on loan there for the rest of the season. He was playing at the B. Good move for him. I think it's a level up from where he was with the B team. Whether or not he's going to be getting minutes, that's yet to be seen. But nonetheless, a good move for him.
I like that move.
Yeah,
They,
I do
they,
too.
they used to have they sold him a kid that always played well against us, Bruno Amado. Ball playing, kind of more like an eight player, but similar. A guy who likes to pick up the ball from the back and distribute it and get the first phase of construction going. Since they lost that guy, it looks like that they've went for a similar player in Pedro Rodriguez, and hopefully it works out. I like the fact that Benfica saw that this kid was probably not going to learn too much in the second division anymore, and said we need to progress you onto a first division level of football. Even if we can't give you those minutes ourselves, we'll keep a close eye on you just down the street in the studio. I like the move. I have to say I'm a fan. Let's just hope he gets as many minutes as I expect he will.
Cristiano's going to keep an eye on it because he wasn't impressed when he played against Unión de Madeira when we saw the B team.
It wasn't impressed.
Yeah, but
it wasn't.
Who impressed in the game that they lost 5-0 at home?
Madeira.
It's not impressed. So João Felix. It's not impressed.
That's right,
Steve. It's, if you tell me a girl's a 10 and I see her and she's a 7, she's still hot. A 7, it's still doable, but it's like, she's not a 10. Like, she's, bro, you told me she's a 10. She's not she's not a 10. And it's kind of like the same thing. Pepe is decent player, but oh my God, the future number. Relax, man. Relax. Cuida. Calming. That's it. He's a decent player. I mean, but people are making him out to be the next, Portugal national team captain. Oh my God, this guy va a ser campeón del mundo. Relax.
Yeah, for Cristiano, if you don't have that skills, you got no skills.
No, because there's a lot of guys on that team. There's other guys on that B team that I actually liked what I saw from them that a lot of people weren't even talking up, but that has nothing to do with Ginga or no Ginga. Now, if you got Ginga, you got a higher chance of being on my good side.
Yeah, but not every player can have Ginga,
I know,
especially a guy
I
that plays defensive midfield.
When you do, I like you a little bit more.
Yeah. So anyway, 9 days for the transfer window to close in Portugal. And looks like Benfica is still working on that goalkeeper. Anderlecht has confirmed that Benfica are in negotiations for that young goalkeeper, Vilar.
I like him, but here's the question. He's 17 years old. Is he coming to play? Benfica needs a goalkeeper this year, unless Julius says 100% healthy. They need a goalkeeper obviously for the future, but this year, Varela, dude, he just makes me nervous, dude. Like, yeah, he makes the save. I get it. The point of the game is to stop the ball from going in the back of the net, but he makes me nervous, bro.
I think that these games have served to build up his confidence. I think, for a kid that is a Benfiquista and has grown up a Benfiquista and has played in the Benfica formation and has had dreams of being and making the main team, coming out with the players, coming out with iconic players such as Luizão, and being a part of the team, being one of the guys in that locker room and getting a start. Mentally, you have to be very, very strong, that your knees don't shake, that you're not nervous, that you're focused. And I think that you went through some of that. Now, do I think that his skills still need to be refined? Absolutely. I think that he still has
that's what I'm talking about.
A long way to go.
I'm talking about his play. I don't care about it.
He's 20 years old, dude.
That's fine. Listen, he still, every time he touches the ball, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Look, he makes a save. And again, the objective of the game is to stop the ball from going in the back of the net as a goalkeeper.
Why does he make you nervous?
He just make like, you've seen the one save, which is like the only shot that was taken on goal. And he's all like he doesn't look comfortable. Now, maybe it has something to do with, he's a big Benfiquista and he's playing style to lose. But in none of the 4 games, I should say, that I've seen, he's made the stops, and I'll give him his due. And there's some saves that I've actually said he's done well, but he makes me nervous. He doesn't give, when you see a goalkeeper, bro, when you saw Roberto back there and boss, you're like, that's what I was about to ask. But when you see Ederson and even Julio Cesar, you're like, okay.
But some of that comes with seeing them a few times and getting that comfortableness with them.
I've gotten more. I know what Cristiano's saying, but I
didn't say he can't play. I just said he makes me nervous.
I've gotten more confident as the time has gone on. Cristiano, here's one for you. Who do you take out of these 3, or what the order do you put? Varela, Bosio, Mureto.
Oh, come on. All right. Look, first of all, it's too early to put Varela even in with that. We're talking about 4 games. Now, if you tell me Roberto, Bossio and Muretu, I put Roberto number one. Actually, I actually take him over the other guys. And then,
Yeah, so would I.
And then I probably go Bossio and then Muretu. Come on, Muretu. There was such a huge fight between Porto and Benfica. And then the other Julio Cesar that we got. Remember Julio Cesar?
Yeah.
We had bums
Funholeria.
after bums.
We got him, I
after,
think. No, what was it?
I think it's Belenenses.
Oh, Rio Ave, some shit.
Belenenses, I think. Whatever. Who cares? Bro, we had bums after but to even put Varela in that conversation, I think it's disrespectful.
But right now, which guy would make you more nervous?
Bro, you had a full season. Like right now, Varela, that doesn't make me as nervous as those guys because I haven't seen Pintos yet. We're talking about 4 games. Could I see Varela play against Sporting in Porto and then like let him get more than 1 shot on goal? Like a couple of crosses into the box where he has to come out? Can I see that first before I'm ready to anoint this guy the next great Benfica keeper for the next 15 years? I mean, look, he makes the stops, and I like the fact he's Benfiquista. And if you guys recall, go back and listen to the first or second pod that we've done this season. And I was actually, look, I think Varela could do the job, and he's doing the job, but doesn't mean he doesn't make me nervous. You know what I mean? If you guys recall, go back a couple of seasons before Jardel really asserted himself into this club, right?
He made you
every
nervous.
Time, like he still got
he
the job.
He still makes me nervous sometimes.
But like, bro, you're like, oh my god, you're on the edge of your seat. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Doesn't mean the guy can't get the job done. Doesn't mean he's not gonna turn out to be a good keeper going forward. It just makes me nervous. Now, this kid Vricili, whatever the hell his name is,
Svilar.
Yeah, but you see if you reverse
Svilar,
it,
vem pra cá.
Yeah, he looks like a quality, keeper, youngster. He's made his debut for Anderlecht, big club. That being said, if he's not coming to play this season, again, I said it last week, bro. I don't want an impulse buy. I want a guy that's going to come and be a part of this team because he's better. He better be better than Varela.
What do you think about Tim Krul?
I would take him because he's got experience but a guy like that, he's going to demand a high salary from Benfica.
Why isn't he playing for sec?
Doesn't matter. The guys
in
Newcastle.
Newcastle. I think Newcastle came up again this
season. Right? No, they're back up. But
is he starting?
But even those guys they're making crazy money. Like they're making 1.5, 1.2. I mean 1.5, 1.2, 1.5, 1.8. I should say. I was going backwards. And I think Benfica, and I've mentioned this multiple times. Benfica is they're in a period right now. The club is in a moment that if they can't make a buck out of you, they're not going to sign. I don't think Tim Krul is that type of player. You understand what I'm saying? Benfica, unless it's free, Benfica wants to sign guys that they could then turn around and sell them for value at a season or 2 or 3. I don't think Tim Krul is that type of player right now for Benfica.
Could be. Let's turn our attention to the questions, and it seems that Francisco Marcelino really missed this. Serge, ever since Já Foste had the kid, you can no longer tweet questions at us like you used to. Francisco Marcelino, man, we appreciate.
I understand.
We appreciate all your questions, man, and we'll do our best to answer them all. I know that some of these we've already addressed during the podcast, the one in relation to Felipe Augusto. Here's one. With Salvio off injured, who would you start on the right wing versus Rio Ave? Steve, you want to venture? Yeah. I think that right now, Rafa is the guy. Zivkovic was on the injured list, but he has been called to the U21 national team for Serbia. So whether or not he's good to go, if he's called, it's because obviously he's good to go.
My patience are running very, very, very thin with Rafa. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. I think it's just the logical is Rafa. Would that been my choice? No. My choice is Zivkovic on the right.
Willock over.
Willock. I've only seen Willock play on the left. I don't know how he does.
What about Crien? What do you think about Crien? I know he's not a wing, but what did you think about him?
He's still very green.
Okay. Yeah. What about Diogo Gonçalves?
Yeah, that's another. He's the one that's been getting some minutes.
I don't think he'll start, but he's going to play.
Rafa will start.
The cerveja, as Patrick likes to call it.
I think he's going to play this weekend because he'll be first option off the bench. Whether he starts, because I don't think Zivkovic is going to be on the lineup. Let's see whether he starts or Rafa starts, but he'll probably come off the bench more than likely.
No word on both Salviu's and Andre Almeida's injury, both players came out before regulation against Belenenses. Salvio did look like there was some kind of a twist in his knee. I did not see ice on his leg after the game or while he was sitting on the bench. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know that they usually wait a couple days before they do the MRI after the swelling goes down. I'm not really sure what's going on. The team has not yet published a medical report on the guys that are out. Here's another one from Francisco Marcelino. Who do you guys think will be the strongest rival for the title this season, Porto or Sporting? Cristiano, you want to take that one?
Sporting.
Yeah?
I've been saying that all along.
I think
if they stay healthy, I think they're front runners.
I think
it's looking like a 3-horse race for the first time in a while, but it's very early. It's very early. We'll talk in January, but
here's my
wow, Steve. Way to answer the question. Way to go out on a limb. Let me tell you.
Here's my thing.
I'm going to say a 3-horse race right now.
Here's my thing on our rivals. I think that at least the way it's getting picked up or interpreted by us watching from a distance on what Porto is doing and on the mindset that Sergio Conceição has that team in right now. Of course, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We just know what we've seen so far. And he looks like he has this team united with the purpose. And I think, to me, a team that's like that, and as long as they click with that in mind, regardless of whether they have the talent on the team or the depth or not, if they are united and play a united type of football and they believe and they put out the effort, I think that they're probably our biggest opponent. I don't know about Sporting, man. I have a lot of doubts about Sporting. They're losing William Oak. Also, I don't know what's going to go on with Adrian. I do like a couple of guys that they have on their team, but again, with that Bruno Carvalho and JJ, it's a very volatile environment. It's something that any little thing could tip it one way or the other. Here's one. Is Andre Almeida the guy to be started this season, or should we look for a right back? I mean, we would all like to get a right back, but as I mentioned, Benfica is not going to get a right back. They're not going to get a center back. The only guy that they will get most likely will be a goalkeeper. And Cristiano's already told you how he feels about that. He held no punches.
No, we need a right back. And by the way, I tweeted something out the other day about Molina. I forget his name, a Mexican kid who's been on the Real Madrid cantera
changed his mind
like 8 months. No, so I've read various reports, but he announced on his Instagram page, I believe. I don't know. I put it up on Twitter. Check it out. That he was joining Benfica after a tremendous 8 years at Real Madrid. It's time to go, and he's going to Benfica. Then I read that he changed his mind. I read that he was on trial at Benfica. Benfica didn't like him, so he's back. So that's still up in the air. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that.
Steve.
But obviously it shows that Benfica were interested in the right back, if that is the case, that he was on trial.
Yeah, but how old was he? 16?
No, he's 18. 18.
Still. For 18, tá lá o Buta, caraças.
Buta na apaixonado.
When Julio Cesar is fit, would you start him or keep Varela as goalkeeper?
JC.
Way early, but I would have to say Julio Cesar.
Yeah.
It's too early. Honestly, we just talked about it. It's way too early to get the verdict out on Varela. I haven't seen enough to be very discouraged or encouraged with him. I mean, he's only had to make a handful of saves, a handful of crosses. It's hard to say. But Julio Cesar is going to win his spot back because you know what he's capable of if he's fit. So,
if a good offer was made, would you sell Samaris? Not playing, and we still have guys like Horta, Carvalho, and Krian.
Those three guys are very different than Samaris, but I still think Samaris gets sold if we get a good
Steve, what would you take? What would you take for him, Steve?
Something that makes money. We paid 10. Anything 15, 17, 18. I think 18 was the offer that I saw. What's going on? Alarm bells going on over there?
Yeah.
My sleep time, bro.
It's eclipse time.
But
So
no,
yeah, Steve,
I
finish
saw
your thought.
18 from Newcastle. Is what one
18,
of the things.
really?
I'm pretty sure it was 18 million from Newcastle, and I was like, okay, I really like somebody says as a member of the squad, not so much as a player.
Yeah, he's a tremendous. I was
anymore.
gonna say his biggest attribute right
Yes.
now is that he's a leader.
Yeah. But for 18 million at this point, I think I'd have to freaking bite their hand off, man. Take them. Go ahead. Go right away.
I'll let him
But
go for 8.
no, I wouldn't
Minimum
lose money
8.
on him.
No, I think if Benfica were to get 20 million, he'd be out the door, and I
Lose
think that's
money,
what they're
dude.
waiting on. No,
What do you think? You drive the car off the lot; it's already depreciated.
Yeah, football doesn't work like that with players under 30, especially
Well,
not these days.
But he's on the wrong side of 20s, right?
Yeah, I think it's 25 or 26.
He's
Yeah.
25, really?
I
Oh,
think
that's
he's.
so young. I thought he would be like 28, 29.
I don't think he's that old, but we'd have to look it up.
27.
Anyway,
He's under 30.
He's definitely under 30, Steve.
Yeah.
if Jonas gets injured, who do you think would fit better to play next to Šverovic?
He's 28.
Neither-
Mitro or Raul?
Neither of those two.
Yeah, it would have to be a guy mobile with touch and with
What's the
vision.
question?
If Jonas gets hurt, who replaces him?
Who replaces him?
Mitro or Jimenez?
Mitro or Jimenez?
I
I
think-
think it's Rafa. Be honest.
I think if they were to go and replace him, for, striker for a striker, I think it'd be Jimenez. But
Doesn't fit the style.
I think if Kravinovic is healthy, he could play
Yeah,
that role
that too.
or move Pizzi. I mean, there's so many other options. But I think if they were to go, like for like a striker for a striker, I think it'd probably be Jimenez
Yeah.
right now because Mitroglou's missed a month now. He's gonna miss a couple more weeks. He's not in form, so I think right now it'd be Jimenez. But there's different rumors. I mean, I personally, this one rumor, I think it's BS. I think it's Benfica just trying to drive up the price, or not drive up the price, but mess up negotiations, I should say. Which the Gabi goal from Inter Milan to Benfica, supposedly they're interested in a guy. But I'm just saying, Jimenez, Everton supposedly made a bid for him for 27 mil. Benfica want like 46 or whatever.
West Ham.
No, Everton
Wasn't Chicharito calling him?
Apparently today, or supposedly I should say, was Everton made a bid, inquired about him.
Órale,
Benfica
vato.
wants a lot more.
Come here to West Ham. Last one from Francisco Marcelino. Where does Nelson Semedo rank in the best right back you saw at Benfica? Cristiano, you and I have probably a bigger, not probably, we definitely have a bigger memory than Steve Santos over the years of right backs. Him. We're at a disadvantage, right? Because it's more recent.
But even the disadvantage, there's only 3 guys you could even put in that conversation.
Who?
Veloso, Moxie, and him.
Yeah, those were my 3 too. I can't
Who
think
are
of
you
anyone.
gonna go with?
Veloso's
a guy that showed up for a
steady.
week. A guy that showed up for a week and left. And Veloso played left, played right. He was a captain for many years. I mean, you want to go with the assistant coach now? He was better. He was better than Veloso. The curly Pietra was better, but that's way before my time. I mean, well, I was a little kid, I should say. Damn, showing my age. But I mean, the 3 best that we've seen, unless you want to go with João Pereira? Who you? Miguel. Forgot about Miguel.
Miguel's got a show.
Yeah, Miguel. Forgot. See, just me rambling. I start rambling. I start remembering.
Miguel. Can't forget Miguel.
Yeah, which we had for a quick second. We have the greatest memory. But shit, I forgot about Miguel. Miguel's in a look. Going forward, Miguel and Smith were better than the other 2. But those are, unless I'm really missing someone, man, over the years, those are the 4 guys I would say would even make the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, Maxi takes you almost all the way back to Miguel in terms of how long
Maxi
he played.
takes you to the time he started following Benfica.
Maxi was together with
no.
Miguel.
Yeah. No, this guy's saying Maxi takes me back to the time I started following Benfica.
Yeah, that's right about the 1 or 2 years after you started following Benfica.
Didn't Andrade play right back a couple games?
Yeah,
long-haired guy.
Mr. Moraes is here. Your thoughts on what the Moreirense coach said about the Liga only being for the big 3 with the disparity in budgets versus the rest? I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. If you guys want to hear a little bit more on that, albeit in Portuguese, check out Jogo Jogado this week. They spend a lot of time talking about the social economic differences between the clubs in the Portuguese league. Obviously, the big 3 I would say 97% of the people in Portugal support one of those big three. So it's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, you're talking about guys and teams that put 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people at the stadium, if that, on a good weekend.
It's not a big country to begin with, so
No.
right there they're at a disadvantage. And on top of it, the money. I mean, financially, a lot of people are living. I don't want to say poverty, but right above that line. So there's only so many things you can do with the $500 you get monthly. So some people decide to stay home. They, goes back to that one pod that we had. Said, but you need to eat, save your money. And this, this again, it's the size of the country and the financial stability right now in the country.
Yeah.
I think that hinders a lot of these smaller clubs, and
it does, and I think that maybe the league could do a little bit more to get the smaller clubs a bigger percentage of the TV.
But even then, the Porto, Benfica, Sporting are the ones that are making the money, and they still can't compete with the big. It's kind of like, you got to give and take at some point.
But doesn't Sport TV cover Moreirense versus Estoril, Moreirense versus Chaves? How much money? Obviously, they're not getting the same money.
But it's about eyes on a screen,
right? I understand.
And there's no viewers. I mean, it's like it's a conversation that could go on and on and on, because Real Madrid is fights this because they got their own independent TV contract, and Barcelona does as well, and I think the rest of La Liga has their own. But they've talked about merging, and Real Madrid said, but everybody tunes in to watch us. We're playing, there's 50 million people watching.
Yeah.
We don't play, there's 2 million. So I understand that there's merit, but I think for the betterment of the league, like the NFL did, the NFL started with that way back in the 50s. Giants owner, he was one of the first guys on the front line to go ahead and call it revenue sharing. He took out of his own pocket to give to teams like the Green Bay Packers and teams in smaller markets in order to have these teams in a league and for them to compete, because like you said, as rich and as big as the New York Giants could be, I can't be big if I'm playing by myself. We need these other teams. So, but again, we're talking about a country that's ginormous, 350 million people, as opposed to a country with 8 to 10 million people.
Yeah.
And a majority of those people don't even have money to
or a TV.
Or no, they do have TVs nowadays, but it's
mas só
difficult,
tem RTP1, RTP2.
Pois é difícil.
They can't. A lot of these people can't afford Sport TV.
It's $33.
Think about it.
Benfica TV is $10. So if you want to watch every single game, that's
every other week.
Well, but I'm saying if you want to watch every single game of the campeonato, you got to get both. You got to get Sport TV and Benfica TV.
That's right. It's expensive.
That's $43 just in that. That's not including anything else.
Yeah. Who can afford to pay for?
You're
Sport
making
TV?
$500. You're gonna pay $100 of that on cable. Come on, dude.
Here's one from Michael MJM_83. He says he's worried about our backs for the Champions League with maybe Andre Almeida injured and maybe only Eliseu on the other side. And it gets underway on September 12th. I think that from the start, we've been saying that Benfica is the talent on Benfica is perhaps a little too short to go far in the Champions League, but you never know. But I agree. I'm worried too. But like I said, trust the process.
Cartilha.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Last one from Mo, Mr. Moraes. Who are you more grateful to have seen play in last 15 years? Gaetan, Aymar, Jonas, Medo, Ederson, Di Maria, Cardoso. Yeah, last 15 years is a long time to remember. I'm sure if we could sit
naming
here.
50 guys. I mean, give me 4 guys.
Gaetan, Aymar, Jonas, Medo, Ederson, Di Maria, Cardoso, or other.
Aymar or Jonas. Probably Jonas.
It's 2-minute warning.
Look, I think Jonas is tremendous to watch. He obviously performs and he delivers unlike any of those other guys. I went Cardoso did better a longer period of time. But I think, and I hate to say this because it's going to side with Steve here, but I think Pablito Aymar was more of a surprise to me, I should say, more of a joy, because we're talking about a guy that was at the heights of European football with the Argentina under 20, I believe, on the 2017, whatever he was. He came up with Saviola and the Alessandro and all these guys. I believe they won the World Cup at that age group.
Yeah.
And then they come up and they're highly touted, and he goes to Valencia, Payaso. Like, you get and seeing a guy like that, and even a Saviola to a certain extent, Real Madrid, Barcelona, these guys, whoa, crap, they're Benfica. Like, you never thought these guys would make it to Benfica. So that was thrilling to watch these guys. But as far as performance-wise, as far as straight numbers, Jonas for me blows all those guys out of the water. I mean, by far. And watching Rui Costa come back to Benfica after spending whatever the amount of time it was in Italy, and he comes back. I mean, that was my my idol. That was my favorite player. That I've ever, whatever, was the player I've adored the most. And watching this guy back at Benfica, understand that he wasn't the same player, but still to watch different types of emotions with these guys.
Yeah.
But I think the best one so far, Jonas. I mean, I think Jonas, Cardoso's got the numbers, but Jonas is doing things week in, week out. But Cardoso, you haven't seen at Benfica on a consistent basis.
Cardoso was a very polarizing figure because a lot of people appreciated him for the goals that he scored, and a lot of people didn't like him because monk.
Di Maria played tremendous at Benfica towards the end. Gaetan
I'll take Gaetan over Di Maria. I mean, not as they stand today.
Yeah, I get it.
They did at the club.
Yeah,
for sure. One guy came in as an 18-year-old twig. All right, every time the wind would blow past 10 miles an hour, the guy would be having a hard time. He still is, but at least he got stronger. Gaetan came in at 22 or whatever he was, 21, 22. He's a more mature player. A guy that came in was, a part of the squad right away. He became a very key part. He's a star. Different times, Di Maria spent 4 years at Benfica, 3 or 4 years, and 2 of those was like, okay, coming out party, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then when he finally showed up, he was gone. So I mean, at Benfica, Gaetan was more successful, but when Di Maria was on, bro, I mean, come on, those are fun times to watch. Ramirez, another guy, the Kenyan, another one fun to watch. It's true. Benfica had a tremendous team.
Yeah.
Witzel, I used to love Witzel at Benfica. Love Witzel at Benfica.
A fan.
Yeah.
What?
All right.
I was a fan of his too.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got. Next week, we'll be back. We'll break down the Rio Ave game. We'll also talk about the Champions League draw, which happens this Thursday. That's this Thursday. That's a couple days from today as we record this. And we'll look at the Benfica's next match, which I don't have in front of me. Anyway, thanks a lot for checking us out. Sorry about the absence last week again. It was entirely my fault. Cristiano was ready to go. Steve, I don't know about that. I have my doubts. Portimonense, we got Portimonense, and then Boa Vista.
We're at Rio Ave. We're home to Portimonense and then at Boa Vista.
Yeah, that Portimonense is a trap game if you ask me. Anyway,
7-0 todos, pá.
planetbenfica.co.uk, at 10co10, at Steve Santos 6, at Benfica Podcast is where you can find us on Twitter, benficapodcast.com. Also on Facebook, just look for Benfica Podcast. Anyway, thanks a lot for checking us out. Please don't forget to subscribe via iTunes and rate us. And that's all I got. Cristiano, you got any last words?
Nada. Juiz na cabeça e até a próxima.
Steve Santos.
I can't take better than Chris's was good. You could have the cake. Ciao.
Ciao. Arrivederci. Cumps.